On the field, off the field, sports talk, entertainment, and more. This is Sauce on the Side.
Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to episode 85 of the Sauce on the Side podcast. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the producer, Mr. Leighton Pip Shaventone.
Antonio Brown might be the single most delusional NFL player to ever play the game of football. That's very debatable, but he's definitely up there.
We got some pretty delusional ones.
Yeah, he's definitely on the Mount Rushmore. I don't know if you can say he's the most, but at this point in his career, you can definitely say he's up there. And Dippers, our guest host, the hot date detective, Mr. Brandon B. Riker.
So tonight represents possibly the most important night in the future of my hair, or probably like lack thereof hair. Texas Tech versus Texas and K-State versus TCU. It all comes down to this, boys.
Comes down to some good old Big 12 basketball. The highlight of the college basketball season. Dippers, as always, be sure to follow on Spotify and iTunes. Download, subscribe, give us that 5-star review. Be sure to follow on Twitter and Instagram at The Saucy Pod. Today we have a lot of interesting stuff for you. Obviously, we're going to discuss the Bryce Harper, the mega deal to the Phillies. We will talk about a little NBA talk, talk about the hot water that the Lakers are in, kind of the mystery around Kyrie Irving at this point with the Celtics. We have a very special interview as well. Curtis Razor Blaydes, the number 4 heavyweight in the UFC, is back on the show to talk about his fight against Justin Big Pretty Willis at UFC Nashville on March 23rd. We have a little bit of NFL news, talk about a couple of the highlights of the Combine, and we will talk about some college basketball and the future of Brandon's hair. Started off hot and heavy, $320 million over 13 years. Bryce Harper to the Phillies. No opt-outs, a full no trade clause. Bryce Harper as a Philly for 13 years. Guys, does anything surprise you about the numbers of this deal?
I mean, really the only thing you can say is surprising is that it wasn't more money. I mean, the average yearly salary is less than, it's about $25.5 million? I didn't think there was any way in the world he'd accept less than $30 million a year. But he does have financial security till he's like 39, 40, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, I was really surprised by the fact that there's all no opt-outs. Like, no matter what happens to the market, no matter how good he plays right now, let's say he's 29, he's a Philly. Like, he could have hit 50 home runs 3 years in a row, locked in. And that, for that reason alone, because everybody knows, I think Bryce Harper's an overrated player in baseball. By knowledge, his potential is phenomenal. If he could just reach that consistently enough, he could make $35 million a year in a few years, maybe. But now, he can't, and that surprised me.
Yeah, see, I don't know if overrated is the proper term. I would say he's the streakiest player in baseball. Just because whenever he hits that potential, he rides it for a good portion of seasons. And, we've really seen him only put together one phenomenal season, so we know that the talent level's there. I think the only thing that surprised me, though, was the money. I said that it was going to be around $350. I figured it was going to be for, 12, maybe even 13 years. I didn't think that you would be able to get a 13-year deal for, $30 million every single season. But I think that the number wasn't quite there. I thought it was going to be $350. Last year they were talking all season about whether or not it was going to be $400. But to be able to lock up financial security for 13 years, I mean,
that's phenomenal. At 39, he's going to be making $20.5 million.
Yes, definitely not a bad contract for the side of Bryce Harper. It is bizarre, though, you sign a contract that long to be dialed in and not have any opt-outs. Guys, what are the Phillies getting in Bryce Harper?
So, like we've talked about it, they're definitely getting the most marketable player in the game of baseball today. I mean,
maybe in all sports.
Yeah, I mean, he sells so many tickets. People who don't know baseball know Bryce Harper. And like Layden said, he has the potential to be right with Mike Trout as like 1B to his 1A. I mean, he did have a season where he batted .330, had a .460 on base, 42 home runs. I mean, that's just crazy. And that's the type of player they're getting. They're getting a player that number one's going to sell tickets. I mean, I went onto the Phillies website. It literally is just a banner of Bryce Harper on there to sell season tickets. Yeah, and that's what they're getting right there. And like to point out, Blaydes said, I wouldn't say he's overrated, but definitely inconsistent because he has 2 plus 300 seasons smushed in with like some 250, 240 batting average seasons. So that's what you're getting with Bryce Harper.
Yeah, and to go on with that, from the game perspective, even if he does only bat, 270 or 30 home runs, whatever, his OBP is still going to be like 450, like 400. Because he's going to get a lot of walk regardless. So you're going to have a guy on base more often.
Oh, yeah. I've said it before. I agree with Brandon. I think this guy could be the 1B to Mike Trout's 1A. Like, he is a phenomenal talent. And especially with maybe now, since he is in just a stacked lineup with guys who will be hitting around him, and you can't necessarily just say, okay, we're not going to pitch to Bryce Harper, because now instead of just Bryce Harper coming up to bat with nobody on, and then we're going to go ahead and throw him on base and have Reese Hoskins up next, like, that's a bad spot for teams to be in. So I do think that now that Bryce Harper has more talent around him, this Bryce Harper will be the best Bryce Harper that we've seen to date. And I expect not 1, not 2, not 3, but probably 4 or 5 of those seasons that we saw at an MVP level of Bryce Harper. I expect to see a handful of those at the least over these next 13 years. So we talked about how good of a talent that Bryce Harper is. Do you think that putting Harper on the Phillies makes them the clear-cut favorite in the NL East, or maybe even in the whole National League?
So definitely NL East for me. I mean, this was a 500 ball club last year that honestly was in true contention until that latter part of the season where they kind of fell apart. They were 22nd in runs, 23rd in slugging, and last in batting average, team batting average. I mean, they added a top offensive catcher this offseason, one of the best offensive shortstops, and they added McCutchen, who he's not an all-star anymore, but he definitely is a quality starter, hit 255, 20 home runs last year. And like you were saying, Drake, those additions just amplify some of the pieces they had already. When you have better players around you, teams can't pitch around you. You wear down pitchers. You get better pitches to hit usually. And they had Hoskins and Franco and Herrera. They had a couple pieces, so I'm really looking forward to seeing this team. They are my NL East favorite and one of my favorite in the NL.
They're probably my NL East favorite. Let's look at the Braves. Closer because they did just hit Josh Donaldson and Arby's Acuna getting their development. But they said they're very good. Whole NL, they're probably up there with the Braves and the Cubs too. Mm-hmm. A lot of it comes down to if you put Harper in the 3 spot and Realmuto at the 2 and Segura at the 1, can Hoskins or Franco Herrera protect Harper enough? That's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what this team did in the offseason, like, I mean, obviously, adding 3 All-Stars. That's what they did. They basically took average talent at the catcher position and turned that into an All-Star player. Maybe the best, maybe not the best, but one of the best offensive catchers in baseball. And then, obviously, you add Gene Segura, and you put him in a spot where you didn't have necessarily even average talent at the position, and now you're jumping into one of the best offensive shortstops, one of the best players in the game as far as the shortstop position, and then you throw in Bryce Harper for Nick Williams. Like, that's your lateral move there. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love it. You get McCutchen, you can move Hoskins from right field to first base. I just love this team right now, and if you look at this team from a talent level alone, just talent, you could say that they're probably the most talented team in baseball. Mm-hmm. But the only bad thing is that not necessarily the most talented team in baseball wins. So if they can put all these pieces together, manage them correctly, which we did see Kepler last year kind of reinvent his strategy as a manager, and he grew as the season went on. Unfortunately, the team that started off 63-48 ended up on an absolute terrible ending of the season, ended up finishing 2 games below 500. So they kind of wore down as the season went on. You won't expect that same decline from guys like Realmuto, like Segura, like Bryce Harper. I think that this team is I could say it's the most talented team in baseball, and I don't think you would get much pushback from that, just from a talent perspective.
No, because they have a good pitching staff, and they added actually a closer in Robertson, who I don't know how good he is as a pure closer, but he's definitely a good bullpen arm. So they do have a lot of talent.
Absolutely, and you hit it on it earlier whenever you talked about how bad this team was at the plate last year, and they were still sitting there 63-48 at one point of the season. Mm-hmm. If you are one of the worst batting teams in baseball, adding 3 All-Stars who've built their brand at the plate is absolutely going to help this team, and I wouldn't be surprised if we end up don't seeing this team in the World Series.
Drake, before we get to your thoughts, one more thing I want to say about this contract that I meant to say earlier. It's like $25.5 million, something like that, per season. So they probably saved $4.5 to $6 million per year. Mm-hmm. They're gonna cut like 20 plus mil when they get rid of Arrieta after next season. So that's $26 million. Got another year to that, cut more swings. They're gonna get Mike Trout. They can sign Mike Trout.
They could, but
it's gonna be extremely hard. No, they definitely could. They absolutely could. Like they're gonna have the money for it.
Yes, but I don't know. I'm just saying I don't know if they will be willing to do that, but they definitely are going to get another All-Star or another pitcher, something like that, to replace Jared Arrieta.
There's a difference between
a pitcher, but
there's a difference between
get a pitcher, but still they could get Mike Trout.
Like there's a difference between like big fish hunting with guys like Bryce Harper and Manny Machado, and like hunting for Bigfoot. Like Jose Canseco's out doing right now. And that's basically like trying to go out and get Mike Trout. Like, guys like Mike Trout just aren't walking all over the earth. So there's a huge difference between the big fish hunting and trying to go find Bigfoot and Bryce Harper.
Mike Trout's from Philly.
He is. He is a big Philly fan.
We broke it first.
So, Mike Trout to the Phillies. That team would be so bad.
So anyway, Drake, you think Mike Trout is comparable to Bigfoot?
Yes. You don't see these things often.
So do you think Canseco is kind of absolutely insane for this?
Maybe Canseco is just hunting Mike Trout.
What if that's what it is? But we paid $5,000 to go find Mike Trout's house.
Is that how much you have to pay?
$5,000 to be in a lottery to get selected.
Oh my goodness, Jose Canseco's the man.
He is the man. He's crazy for crazy with school. Anyway, Drake, any more thoughts for us?
Yes, I do.
It was all a dream. I used to read Run Up magazine.
Antonio Brown looks like he's been drinking too many of the dude's White Russians. Antonio Brown sounds like he's been drinking too many of the dude's White Russians. LeBron James, 3-4 versus Western Conference teams since activating playoff mode. Actually, this is right on cue for what I've seen over the past few years with LeBron's playoff mode. Best stat of the year? Vince Carter pulled off the first 40-40 game in NBA history. 42-year-old man playing 45 minutes against the Bulls. Bryce Harper, good luck on your journey on bringing back a title to DC. MLB The Show, Bryce Harper in Phillies Gear Edition, has an actual career mode where you play as Bryce Harper on the Phillies and try to make the Nationals finally win a title. Jason Witten saved Monday Night Football. Jerry Jones saved Monday Night Football. Now we need to get the Bucks to re-sign Booger McFarland and we'll be in the clear. Arizona Cardinals said Josh Rosen is their quarterback. Arizona Cardinals were so sold on Josh Rosen that they signed Sam Bradford for $10 million last year and Mike Glennon for $2.5 million last year. Update. Matt Schaub is still in the NFL for 2 more years. That is all. Bryce Harper, the most overpaid man in baseball. If you don't believe me, ask anyone whose team missed out on signing him. Utah State men's basketball team. Very good team, very bad fan base. LeBron James, trying to reinvent ways of taking over games and keep the ball in his hands. Unfortunately, you can't throw the ball off the back of the backboard. And there's a new book out this week. It's titled 10 Threes in 1 Half. How We Knew the Lakers Were in Trouble. And it was written by Rajon Rondo. And those have been my thoughts.
I can't believe Rajon did that. I don't look at him. That's like Ben Simmons shooting 2 in a game.
Yeah, Rajon Rondo shooting 10 threes is the equivalent of Ben Simmons shooting 2.
I just can't believe Vince Carter played 40-something minutes in a game.
That is unbelievable.
What are they trying to accomplish, the Hawks?
Tanking?
I don't know. Vince Carter's a baller.
Dude, did anybody see that video of Vince Carter go up to slam it? Like, he jumped over everybody and just realized at that moment, like, I don't have it anymore, and just tossed it up for a layup.
That layup was actually very impressive. He still got hang time.
He has unbelievable hang time.
He's just not over 7-footers.
Yes, it was like a typical NBA player going up to try to dunk it right there, like dunked over like 6 guys. But like old school Vince Carter would have gotten it done.
Oh yeah.
New school Vince Carter doesn't really have a prayer.
One time someone told me hang time wasn't a real thing, and then they told me it wasn't a real thing by describing what hang time was to me. Then I just said, that's definition hang time.
Yes. If it has a definition, then it is real.
It was like, it's just how long you're in the air. I'm like, that's what hang time is.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. You debunked your own thought. That's like me trying to explain things and argue stuff on this podcast.
Just favorite thoughts.
So, guys, I'm going to read off a list of teams here. Pelicans, Grizzlies, Lakers, Bucks, and Suns. Those are the winners of each of the Lakers' last 5 games since B-Wright penciled LeBron into the playoffs. Since LeBron has come back, the team is 4-8. 4.5 out of the 8 spot. Are we officially slamming the door of the Lakers season?
So this has been a common thing to say about Lakers is that this week is the most important week of the season.
Absolutely.
We've seen that for a while now. But this week, it is. They have 3 straight home games, Clippers, Nuggets, and Celtics, 1 day or more in between both games. If they go 1-2 over those 3 games, the season's done. Because then they have 5 straight games on the road, and they're not going to win 4 out of 5 on the road. So I think they got to win basically all 3 of these games.
The Clippers game is a must-win.
Oh, yeah. Tonight's huge.
Yeah. If you win any game, it has to be the Clippers. And, guys, we've seen this before. It's LeBron James. Like, we know LeBron will win this game, right? It doesn't matter how bad the team is. LeBron will win this game.
I thought that until 2 weeks ago. Now I don't know anymore. But I personally, I thought it was over, talked about last time. I still think the season's done.
So, yeah. Well, one thing, they did get a win against the Pelicans.
That is big.
They went 1-1 against the Pelicans, okay? Without AD. So, yeah, no, the biggest thing that I can't just never foresaw was just like the kind of apathetic attitude this team seems to have, especially like LeBron James even at times, especially defensively. I mean, he's putting up some of his worst defensive numbers he ever has, and it's not for the lack of athletic ability, it's just like laziness.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Just insane.
Like if you all you have to watch is that inbound pass that he threw, and like that it is a different mentality that we have in LeBron. And you look at the surrounding staff, and people are trying to point it to the fact of the young players. But if you look at the Lakers' last 5 games, they've only been able to pull off 1 win. But in 4 of those 5 games, LeBron James had 2 other players score at least 20 points in 4 or 5 of those games. And the one game that they didn't get the 20, they didn't get 2 guys scoring 20. They had a 29-point performance from Ingram and 16 from Kuzma. So, like, these young guys are stepping up. And, Ingram, since LeBron's come back, has had, 22, 6, and 3. And Kuzma has been averaging 18, 4.5, and 2.5. They are the team that we thought they would be. They just aren't winning games. Mm-hmm. Like, these young guys are stepping up to the plate. They are performing well. It's just a different mentality that this team has, like, where it's just apathetic at this point. Mm-hmm. And that is not the kind of basketball that you have to play in order to climb back into the playoffs. Most of these teams that we've seen that have went on terrific runs down the stretch to fight and claw back into the playoffs really just play an inspired brand of basketball. And I can point a finger right at a regular season team every single year, and that is the Portland Trailblazers. They might not be the most talented team to take the court every single day, but they're the most inspired basketball team out there, and everybody's playing with a chip on their shoulder because they have a guy from Weber State and another from, I think, Lehigh. So these guys are out there with a chip on their shoulder every night. The Lakers just aren't doing that, and it's very unfortunate to see because this team's potential could be pretty high. So, guys, LeBron, we know it. He's a huge blame guy, so we know we have to point the blame somewhere. Who will be to blame if the Lakers miss the postseason?
I don't think a curveball. Yeah, we can blame Luke Walton for not developing players very well. Mm-hmm. We can blame Magic Johnson for getting him the 28th best three-point shooting in the league. Blame LeBron James for playing awful defense. But I'm going to get a little funny here and blame Dell Demps, GM for the Pelicans.
I thought about that.
Anthony Davis was the ultimate Trojan horse. Not only did he ruin one franchise, not two, but three whole franchises. Now we have young players for the Lakers and Celtics both saying, we can play our asses off here. But guess what? We might get traded this summer. So what's the point playing for you? And then you also ruin the Pelicans by saying, okay, no, what we do now, AD's gone.
I actually like that. I didn't think. Very good spin on that.
Well, maybe he's just going to blame God. Because technically you could say the combination of injuries between him and Ball and all the rest of the players are just acts of God. And, I mean, throughout history and real world, people just blame God for everything. So I think that's the ultimate just last ditch.
It could be the last ditch effort for this team. I think I'm just going to go right at the big dog. I'm going to LeBron. Well, I guess the second big dog out of the three that we're blaming here. I mean, he came.
Big dog.
He's the second fiddle on this one. He came in saying that he was going to bring a star, basically create an arms race with this team. They just came in ready to compete immediately. And this is going to be the first time that LeBron James has missed the playoffs since the 2004-2005 season, whenever he was 20 years old. Guys, he's been in the league for 15 years, and he's made the playoffs since he was 21 years old. I think that is the only guy that you can blame at this point because, unfortunately, it has to go somewhere. And I don't think Luke Walton's that bad of a coach. I mean, I think he's a better coach than probably Tyronn Lue or David Blatt, and they were able to win games with both of those guys. Luke Walton, we've seen him have phenomenal success with the Warriors, and that was before they had KD. So it's not like he had the 5 All-Stars that they're throwing out on the court every single night. If it had to go anywhere, I think it has to go on the shoulders of LeBron. So guys, one of the biggest leaders in the NBA, if you don't believe me, ask him, Kyrie Irving, pupil of the LeBron James School of Leadership, has been in a little hot water lately. When he plays, his team loses. When he sits out, his team wins. The Celtics are 9-2 in games that Kyrie has missed, including a 6-game win streak. The Celtics are 29-4 in games Kyrie has played and is 3-7 in their last 10. Is that a coincidence?
No, because this Celtic team is a very valuable team. They play great team basketball, and they're not about to full iso ball. It's not, and that's what Kyrie wants to do, and that clearly is not working out for him.
Yeah, you obviously can't ignore this any longer. Because I was a very big skeptic saying, obviously, that's their best player. And honestly, his plus and minus ranks 5th amongst NBA point guards in the league. So when he's in the game, they are still scoring. So you want to – it's hard to even know where to point the finger at, honestly, why they struggle so much. But the only thing you can come up with is that this team completely plays different with him and without him. I know one thing, their assist percentage is much higher without him, but they also score 8 points more a game when he plays.
Right.
So go figure that one out.
Yeah, I think you hit something perfect there because I looked at it today. I think he's 20th in the whole entire NBA in plus minus. And you look at a guy like Kyrie Irving, like obviously he's the best player on the team. He's one of the best players in the Eastern Conference. And you think about it, like his plus minus is phenomenal. But whenever he is whenever he is playing in the game, I think the team mentality changes to where instead of being built like a team, they look more like the Houston Rockets, where it's like we need this guy to bail us out. It's very similar to those LeBron James teams. Even whenever they had other good talent like Kevin Love, like Kyrie Irving, those teams would still lose games whenever LeBron wasn't on the court because they got so used to playing with that guy, being able to defer to him, have him make a play for him, and it's not there. Whenever those guys go into games knowing that Kyrie's not going to be there to bail him out, the whole entire team mentality changes. Mm-hmm. You cannot blame that on Kyrie Irving because it's kind of selfish to do so, because when the guy's on the court, he's phenomenal. He's one of the best 20 players in the league when you look at a plus minus. So it's not necessarily Kyrie's fault directly, but in a roundabout way, because Kyrie is so good and he offers so much to this team, the second that he leaves the court and the guys know that Kyrie will be back in at some point, it kind of takes away from the rest of the players because they are waiting for their guy to get back into the game.
Actually, to echo what you said, Terry Rozier at the beginning of February was interviewed, and they asked him straight up, what do they think the problem is with the Celtics? and he said when Kyrie's on the floor, he is the most explosive offensive player by far on the team, and they do a lot of standing around and watching. And that's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean, if the players are even echoing that, that's terrible.
Because at this point, that's all you can say. There's nobody in the NBA can figure out why they're struggling.
No, not even Brad Stevens. And if Brad Stevens can't figure it out, you have a big issue on your hands. Do you guys think that this team is actually better without their most talented player?
This is something Fletcher got an argument about 100% Hysteria a few weeks ago. I said that they will be with Kyrie because when it comes time to take a big shot, you're trying to make it, you want the guy with the big shot to make the shot. And Kyrie done that before in the past. Fletcher's argument back to me was, for it to be a big shot, you have to get to that point in the game.
Yep.
And I kind of agree with Fletcher at this point, or not agree with Fletcher more that they'll be without him. Because if they can't get to a last shot situation, then there's no need to have a guy like Kyrie Irving.
Right, and I want to say, I don't think it's all Kyrie's fault. I just think this team isn't made to win with a player like Kyrie. I think Kyrie can win in many situations. It's not like a Russell Westbrook where I'd put a lot of blame on him. This is a player that just it doesn't fit with what Brad Stevens in Boston does. One big thing, though, if they really want to get AD this summer and they want him to re-sign, you got to think that having Kyrie re-signed would really help them acquire and keep AD. So that's one thing that I think they could be thinking about this summer.
Yeah, I agree. It's such a weird scenario. You look at Brad Stevens' teams back whenever he was at Butler, they did have really good, they had a really good one player, but they weren't like a Kyrie Irving, or they weren't somebody who's just going to explode off for 40 points in a night. It was more team-oriented basketball, and whenever Kyrie's out there, I don't think that they play that team-oriented basketball. I actually looked at this team over the last two seasons. Without Kyrie Irving over the last two, over the last two seasons, they're 23-10. And that's a 70% win percentage compared to a 62 whenever he's out there. And there's no doubting the talent of the rest of the players out there. So I do think that it is an addition by subtraction, just because the young players have that mentality, unfortunately, where they can't play with a star because then they think that the star just has to carry him the whole entire game. But does this make Kyrie expendable? I know a lot of people talked this last offseason about how they should go out and trade Kyrie because they were one game away from a title without him, or from a chance at a title without him. Do you think this makes him expendable at this point?
So, I thought about this a lot, and I think so. Almost just because I feel like if they get a player, this would be an odd thing for me to say due to fit and money. But if they do go get Anthony Davis for Jason Tatum, I think it'd be better bringing in that guy Jimmy Butler and get him to buy into Brad Stevens. Because Jimmy Butler plays good defense, he plays hard. He wants the ball in his hands, but he's not an ISO player. I think he'd be a really good fit on that team if they got Anthony Davis instead of Kyrie Irving.
Well, see, that's a real big wish because the Sixers really want to re-sign Jimmy Butler. So you kind of have to look around and see what players do we get to pair with him.
Yes.
And like I said, and what you got to really think about is that Anthony Davis wants to play next to stars. He clearly didn't like playing next to role players in New Orleans. He wants to try to go to a situation. It's not all in his hands, but if he's going to resign, he wants to be in a really, really good situation. And Anthony Davis and the rest of the guys, I don't know if that'll get it done for him. So I don't know what other star, honestly, that they would be able to they would be able to sign other than Kyrie.
Right. I think that they're in a really weird spot. I think it would be more like Kyrie as trade bait if they were able to get him to re-up. I just think that they're in a really, really weird spot where they're a team that has a coach that I think could win without star-level talent. Just basically strength and numbers type basketball, which we'd say never wins in today's NBA. And they're in a really weird spot. I think Jimmy Butler would be a phenomenal addition to that because Jimmy Butler does believe in team basketball. He wants everybody on his team to rise to the occasion. We saw it in Minnesota. He got pissed off because people weren't playing like a team, and he basically showed them, hey guys, whenever you play that way, I by myself can beat you with the third string players. So I think Jimmy Butler would be a phenomenal addition there. I don't think that will happen because I think he will stay with the 76ers. But I think Kyrie Irving is expendable if they use him as trade bait, kind of like a sign and trade thing.
Yeah, one thing none of us said is that like locker room cancers are a real thing in sports.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
right now, if you're gonna tell me that Kyrie's not a cancer in that locker room, you're a fucking idiot.
Yes.
Because I have not heard him say anything about Boston or anything good come out about him from anybody in months.
In months. When has he last bought into the team that he was on?
When they were beating the Warriors in the finals.
That was about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know if he was too satisfied with that.
So Kyrie likes success.
Yes.
That's what we know.
I could believe that. So another Gasol brothers actually switched teams this season. Pau Gasol got bought out by the Spurs and immediately signed with the Bucks. Does this move the Bucks in the right direction in their hopes for a title?
Well, they're down in the wrong direction. But no, I think the Bucks are going kind of all in.
Kind of all in. They're all in.
They're all in. They want to win right now. They smell blood in the water. They like what Giannis going. The team's playing great. Everybody's healthy. They're looking at this as, okay, we might not have the same success ever again. Let's make it happen now.
Did you ever think that a team that we realistically thought had a chance to win the title would have a starting point guard in Eric Bledsoe and a starting center in Brook Lopez?
No.
If you get the right pieces around it.
Oh,
At
absolutely.
At one point, we thought Eric Bledsoe was going to be a consistent all-star.
Mini LeBron was actually what people called him.
Yeah.
Mini LeBron. But Paul Gasol right now, or Pau Gasol, whatever you want to call him. I always call him Paul. I don't think that's right.
Definitely not Paul.
I don't think he does anything for this team because he is posting career lows in every statistical category and was only getting 12 minutes on a team that's much weaker in the front court. But this is good depth in case somebody gets hurt. I mean, he can still give you probably 10 minutes a game. That's pretty valuable. But as far as moving the needle, for me, it doesn't do much for him.
Yeah, it doesn't really move it for me. I had it figured up earlier. I think that Pau Gasol's only played like 320 minutes and only shot like 90 shots this season. He's basically just like a stand there, move around guy who may log some minutes in the playoffs here and there. But I think what it does help with this team is that it's a guy who's been in the postseason grind before, and he is a veteran, and that does help. You know, and I like to attribute it, you know, championship teams have that old guy that can bring team morale up. And I look at it kind of like the Cubs whenever they had David Ross. You know, obviously David Ross, way past his prime, wasn't an everyday player for the Cubs, but he could come in and make something happen for the team, and he could always keep team morale up. And once the playoff grind starts, he knows how to manipulate it.
Well, that's also because John Lester refused to throw to anybody else but Ross.
That's true. Hey, what if Eric Bledsoe just like gets in a rut where he only wants to throw lobs to Pau Gasol?
It'll be a really rough stretch for the Bucks if that happens.
Absolutely. So something that we haven't really discussed at all in this season is the bottom three playoff spots in the East. We feel like 1 through 5, the orders will change, obviously, but those teams are basically set in stone. So, guys, the final spots, 6 through 8. 3 spots, 5 teams separated by 2.5 games. Which 3 teams are going to nab those spots?
I'm actually going to go with Detroit probably doing the top spot of those 3. I'm actually kicking the Nets out. They have the 3rd toughest schedule in the NBA going forward. So I'm actually going to go with Orlando. They have the 26th toughest schedule, and then the Heat. They just beat the Nets without Whiteside and Dragic. So in that order, I'll go Detroit, Orlando, the Heat getting that last 8th spot.
See, I'm going to go with... I think Detroit's definitely going to get in. I think their team is kind of uninvited all season long. I'm going to do the Nets, too. Unless I don't think the Nets are a good team, they're just playing basketball just good enough to beat the team they should beat to stay in the playoffs. Last team I'm going to go with the Hornets. This is basically just me saying Kemba can do a March thing one more time this month and get him to that 8 seed.
Yeah. See, I think the Pistons, we can almost just like... I think we could almost say that the Pistons are going to be that 6th seed just because they have more talent than everybody else. But the Nets, I think the Nets are going to nab that 7th spot just because this is a team with everybody has a chip on their shoulder. Of players that have, whenever they've been on this team or had a role on this team, that have played 20 minutes or more, there's 13. Every single guy except 2 on that roster have played for a different team at some point. So this is basically like the team of misfit toys. So these guys obviously are playing with that chip on their shoulder, which you have to have in order to make it through the grind of the last part of the seasons to kind of elevate your game and make it to the postseason. And then the 8 spot, I I like the magic there. And if you look at this team, they actually have 6 guys. Their starting 5 plus their 6-man are all averaging over 9 points per game. Everybody's attributing. And, you look at this team, I usually don't like a team that's built around a big man being the best player on the team. But Vucevic, he's a very, very good player, and you can't win a title with a big man being your best player, but you can obviously make the 8 seed with a big man being your best player. So, guys, can any of these teams win a postseason series?
No. Nope.
Nope.
Absolutely not. I don't think that they have a chance.
But you guys are neither of you guys said Heat, and D Wade is hitting his playoff mode.
Yes.
So all of you guys are just you cannot hate on D Wade.
Yes, dude. Honestly, I think everybody, even if you're not a Heat fan, loved that last second shot D Wade had.
Oh yeah, they actually just beat the Warriors and the Nets. So hell of a trajectory right now. Yeah,
hitting stride.
That's arguably the best 3-point shot of D Wade's career.
It was maybe the only.
That is absolutely the best 3-point shot of his career. I'm not even going to research that. That is.
So guys, this is a time for a segment that I love. It's called Shittiest Take of the Week. We watch a ton of sports shows. We listen to a ton of sports radio. And every single week, somebody comes out with a take that's worse than the previous week. Colin Cowherd nor Skip Bayless were on last week's segment. Hopefully they rear their ugly head. Who do we have for Shittiest Take of the Week?
This week I'm going back to the well, Antonio Brown. He's full of them right now. Go from that ESPN interview. I'll say the first full quote, then I'll paraphrase the end because it's kind of lengthier. The full quote on the situation. I don't take any blame. I think I took responsibility for my situation. I didn't point a finger. I didn't make anybody feel bad. I didn't throw no stones at anyone. If you follow the situation at all, you know that he has so much of the blame for this. Probably more than anybody else on the team.
No, Ben Roethlisberger does. Ask him.
Hey,
Two-time champ Ben Roethlisberger.
Hey, that brings me to my next point. We talked about last week how he called out Big Ben, saying it'd be Ben's world. Now he's saying how if he doesn't need the game football anymore, the game needs him. And then he goes to a team. He doesn't care the organization. It's not personal. It's all business. But it's going to be on his rules. In no world, it'll ever be on wide receivers' rules. Unless wide receiver is Jerry Rice, who might be the best field player of all time.
Did he really say that it was just strictly business?
Yeah.
Which is crazy because this is all personal. And in that same interview,
I'll find the actual whole quote.
And in the same interview, he got mad because he said the owners don't care about the players and they don't even know my own kids' names or anything like that.
That's exactly what I was about to say. If it's strictly business, why are you mad that they don't know your family's name? It's obviously a personal investment that you have here. You are obviously feuding with Ben Roethlisberger. And if it's business only, why are you missing out on that Week 17 game check whenever you could be out there playing for your team and making the business decision?
And then I love that Larry Fitzgerald threw him under the bus saying, I love AB, but this is not the way to go for it. He was like, you've gotten to play with a Hall of Famer your whole career. He's like, just know that you're lucky.
Yeah. Yes, the guy who has caught passes from Drew Stanton is like,
yes.
Man, you need to appreciate this.
Yeah, he said, quote, I would like to know the guy who worked for him and got my best interest. He later then, in the same quote, says, for me it's not personal between me and the organization. It's just where I'm at now. You're helping me build or stopping me. Direct contradiction.
The blonde mustache is just screwed with him.
Yes, it's messed with him a lot. You can just look at him now and know that he's kind of went off the deep end.
Oh, yeah.
So, B-Rock, what do you have for the shittiest take of the week?
So I got Stephen A. coming in hot. And he's talking about football, so we know it will be good.
Oh, this is good.
He says, and this is talking about Jason. This is as soon as he found out that Jason Witten was going back to the Cowboys. I'm disgusted because I know he's going to help them. He's Jason freaking Witten. He's going to make them a top 4 team in the Super Bowl race. Jason Witten alone will propel the Cowboys to a top 4 team in the league.
That's a
what
bad
do you think
take.
about that one, boys?
That's a bad take.
Well, when it first got announced, heard on ESPN somewhere he's going to play 20 snaps a game. I feel like he would 20 snaps a game.
Are going to just electrify the offense and it's going to propel them to being the top team.
Dude, the only tight end in NFL history that I could say would probably make the Cowboys, maybe make them a top 5 or 6 team to win the Super Bowl next year would be Gronk in his prime. Jason Witten after a year of football sitting out, after a season of only catching for like 600 yards, is not the kind of player that is going to propel them to a Super Bowl.
Did you guys hear what Cowhood said about this today?
No.
I should have used this. Now, in hindsight, I should have used this instead. He talked about how the Cowboys do everything right. Let go of Dez at the perfect time. Dak Prescott in the 4th round. And now, what about Jason Witten? Jason Witten, yeah, he's old. But last year, Antonio Gates, who's old Jason Witten, played for the Chargers. Huge part of their success. Gronk.
What?
Rob Gronkowski, terrible regular season. Come the playoffs, huge part Super Bowl win. Like, for one, win is not Gronk in any shape or form.
Absolutely.
And two, if you want to say Antonio Gates was a big success, or reason why it's so much success last year, you just should not call it football ever again.
No. And to say that the Cowboys do everything consistently right, you remember whenever they signed Greg Hardy? Does anybody remember that? Like, if the Cowboys consistently do things right, they wouldn't have had Greg Hardy stomping on the sidelines for a whole season with a star on his helmet. Like, get out of here.
Oh, and just to bring back one of our other shit takes with Stephen A., when he said that Hoskins was more of a runner than a passer, Hoskins ran slower than a 5.40 time.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, he ran like Tom Brady-esque 40 time.
Stephen A. needs to just hang him up whenever it comes to talking football.
Yes.
So my shit take of the week actually circles around the Jason Witten signing. Martellus Bennett posted a video on his on his Twitter of him working out, and it said that now that Jason Witten signed, we need to get the band back together. Talking about going back to the Cowboys. Does anybody remember how big of a flop that was whenever Martellus Bennett was on that team? Him and Jason Witten couldn't stand each other.
I couldn't even remember Bennett being on that team, to be honest with you.
Well, the only reason I know he was on that team is because him and Jason Witten absolutely hated each other. If you're wanting to get the band back together, this is like bringing back the Beatles and just instantly putting in, what was the name that tore the whole thing apart?
Yoko Ono.
Yoko
Ono.
Yes. He is that missing piece for this to absolutely destroy the band. Martellus Bennett, I don't think they want you. And he even had like this whole entire, him and his brother had this sit-down conversation with ESPN and all this, and he even highlighted how mean Jason Witten was to him and how much he did not like Jason Witten. That band should not get back together.
Oh, no.
So guys, we'll go ahead and talk about some NFL news since we had 3 of our shit takes on it. So we have, obviously, Jason Witten going to be playing for the Cowboys. Do you think that this means anything for the NFL?
Nope.
It's desperation. That's all it is for the Cowboys.
Absolutely.
It means that stations like TV channels might do some more venting before they hire people to talk about games.
But honestly, this was a great career move.
It might matter for them.
Do we all agree this is a great career move for Witten?
Oh, 100%. This was the right move.
Because now what he can do is go play one more year of football. He's not going to be good. It's not going to do anything for him. But what it is going to do, he gets his ass out of the booth, which he was terrible, and now he can occasionally go be an analyst with ESPN because now people are going to forget just how bad he was.
Yes, this was a genius move, man, because like they always give those guys like 2 years. And after this year, they would have moved on anyways. So he just gets to slide on out without ever getting fired. Like, obviously a great move. So guys, Kyler Murray. He was actually taller than what we expected. He was 5'10". I still don't believe that. But does this make you lock him into the first round?
Yeah, I think he'll probably go in the first round before this to offer potential loan. But it definitely locks him in, and here's why I think why. I've thought about like a 5'8" Kyler Murray as being like kind of like a fisherman on a lake. You can scout the lake, survey everything for hours on end, but in the end, you can't see where the fish are at, so listen up to it. A 5'8" quarterback and 5'10" quarterback, that's 2 inches. That 2 inches is the unknown of seeing over your lineman and knowing where the ball's going to be thrown, or just throwing there because you think somebody's going to be there.
Well, and we know that a 5'10" guy can do it. We've never seen a 5'8" guy do it yet.
Exactly.
So we don't know.
That 2 inches, much like some people, but that is literally the unknown. You're throwing into darkness or throwing into the light.
Is it not ridiculous now that they're talking about him being the number 1 overall pick?
He 50-50 odds in Vegas.
That is crazy to me. And also what's crazy, and I'm actually pretty sure the boys that on PMT brought this up, is it wild that the biggest story of the Combine was just measuring a young man?
Yes, I love
I
it.
didn't do anything. All we did was measure him.
Dude,
That's all we did.
that's the combine every year, dude. Remember Johnny Manziel had the tiny hands, and that's what everybody wanted to hear
Oh, yeah.
about?
You got to at least have a 9 hand.
And then the next year there was that guru who could make your hand 1 inch bigger.
Yes, you could actually stretch your hands to make them larger. That was the best thing ever. But here's what I have to say about this. Does it matter if Kyler Murray is 6'2"? Hell no. The average NFL lineman is 6'5". In 2015, the average NFL lineman was 6'5". Unless your quarterback is 6'8", he's not seeing over any of those guys.
He's definitely seeing some, though. 6'2" definitely helps more than being 5'10" at quarterback.
It's 4 inches, and whenever you're talking about linemen that are 6'5", like if the guy can play football, he can play football.
Gotta get low.
Yes, low man wins, except at quarterback.
The only thing I would say against that, I agree with you, Drake. The only thing against that is I know they have special blocking schemes for Drew Brees, so he has better passing lanes because of where his arm is when he throws the ball.
Well, hell, Patrick Mahomes, man, we watch him, and he's like basically, if you want a quarterback right now, it is Patrick Mahomes. You don't change anything about him. And even whenever you watch him throw passes, one play I'll talk about in the postseason was whenever he hit Travis Kelce on that ridiculous pass where it was like a sidearm throw where he threw it in the passing lane. He couldn't see over anybody. He couldn't throw it over the guy. So what did he do? He manipulated his arm angle and threw it off to the side. Like, it's just because you're tall doesn't mean you're going to have success. You just have to be able to know. Like, it's not like Kyler Murray used to play football whenever he was 6'4", and now he gets into the NFL and he's 5'10". He's dealt with it his whole life.
So that's my biggest thing is that just watch the tape.
Yes, watch the tape. And a guy that they should probably watch tape on, extensively, is DK Metcalf. He came to the combine and absolutely dropped some jaws. 40 and a half inch vertical, 4'3", 340. He's 6'4", 230 pounds, 1.6% body fat. Guys, are we buying into the hype train?
Well, I actually heard after this happened, Al Davis rose from the dead. So
yes, the Raiders will use all 3 picks on him.
They will take the number 1 pick overall and then take DK Metcalf. Sure. But no, I mean, very typical guy. He's 6'4", probably a great quarterback, and that's an automatic thing right now. I don't know. The one person I saw hang on Twitter was his cone drill. It was like 7.5 seconds, which is like
it was really poor.
Yeah,
which was awful.
Which is not good. But hey, one thing, he'd be a good straight line runner.
Yes, and that's all he did in college. I don't know
Giant
if you looked at the tape. But
yes, 21 yards per catch.
Yes, as physically and dominated as I watched, because he got hurt about halfway through. I was lucky enough to see every single catch he had, which wasn't many. And yes, he scored a lot of touchdowns, but they were all on go routes. The one time he had a jump ball, which you'd think somebody who bench presses 225 27 times, 6'4", is a freak of nature, would have a lot of jump balls. The only one he had was against SIU. So
we know that secondary couldn't stop you from catching a football.
Exactly. And you just got to look at this. You have to look at the tape. You have to look at that Ole Miss had another player in A.J. Brown who dominated that offense. And then you could say, oh, well, A.J. Brown was just a slot guy. Well, LSU at one point had Jarvis Landry and OBJ, and they both were successful.
Yes.
You don't try to bring in the whole thing that he's going to be just so good now because a team will be able to work with him. He can only run a straight line. That's it.
I agree.
And you can compare him to Sammy Coates. I mean, Sammy Coates was 6'2", 212, did like 23 reps on the bench press, 41-inch vertical, 440. I mean, he's not doing anything. I mean, he's not doing anything in the NFL.
I fell into the Sammy Coates hype train. I won't allow that happen to myself again. Guys, out of the 20 wide receivers that caught for more than 900 yards this season, okay? So there were 20 wide receivers for 900 yards. Only 3 did not have a 900-yard receiving season in college. Stephon Diggs, Michael Thomas, and Tyreek Hill. I want to play the odds game with this, okay? Mm-hmm. I know that you can say that Michael Thomas you could argue he's the best wide receiver in football, and he didn't have 900 yards. But I'm going to play the odds game. I would rather be on the other side with the 17 guys and get it right more consistently than take a flyer on a wide receiver in the first or second round and completely butcher the pick. Because it's a guessing game. And with Tyreek Hill, if Tyreek Hill would have been at Oklahoma State for 3 years, never gotten in trouble, there's no doubt in my mind he would have had 1,000 yards. So you kind of are boiled down to Stephon Diggs and Michael Thomas. And, Michael Thomas is phenomenal. Not a whole lot of guys put up huge numbers at Ohio State because they are more of a run-heavy system, excluding this last year with Haskins where they were throwing the ball over the yard. And they spread the ball out well. And you just knew Michael Thomas was good coming into the draft. And Stephon Diggs, he played at Maryland, so you can cut him some slack on that.
But here's the biggest thing. If you don't dominate in college, there's very, very few times that you're going to dominate in the NFL. And I think people just fall in love with the combine way too much. Yeah, this guy could be great, but is he a top 10 pick? Absolutely not. That's exactly what happened to Ross. Ross was a good receiver, and they thought late first round. Runs that 40, and magically he's a top 10 pick, which is absolutely ridiculous, and teams are going to fall. And again, he could be great, but I'm not banking it all on the combine.
And DK Metcalf, his three-cone drill was actually the third slowest of wide receivers, which I feel like changing directions is a very important thing for a wide receiver to do. Because, you can look at Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice, he was slower than, he was absolutely not the fastest wide receiver on any team he ever played on, but he could change directions on a dime, and he had a pretty good career. And it was either the three-cone drill for DK Metcalf or it was the 20-yard shuttle.
It was both of them that were awful.
Yes, one of the two, though, was slower than Tom Brady whenever he came out of college.
Uh-oh.
That's not good. No. He just can't change directions very well. He's a straight-line runner.
He can go straight.
You know what? Usain Bolt needs to sign up for the Combine 1 year.
Oh, he would absolutely dominate. He'd be a top 5 pick.
Yes.
Really, though, he would probably be a first-round pick if his life was different and he played football at some small-ass school, man, that kind of 40, that would definitely be different.
Mark my words. He will be a Raider. It doesn't matter if Al Davis is there or not. He will be a Raider. Yes, Usain Bolt and DK Metcalf. That's the dream wide receiver combo for the Raiders. So, guys, we'll go ahead and transition to Be Like the Hot Take Detective. This is one of my favorite segments. Each week I come in with 3 different takes for Brandon, and he tells me if I am right or I'm wrong. Spoiler alert, he's probably going to tell me that all 3 of mine are wrong because every week he's tried to do so. All right, first take. SIU basketball. Barry Hinson will win the Valley Tournament and keep his job.
Well, I don't think they should be kicking Barry Hinson out because I love Barry Hinson. Barry Hinson is a guy he's no nonsense. He'll call the players out. He might get on national news because of his, post-game rants. And I love that in a coach. But there's absolutely no way that he's winning the MVC tournament. He's had a winning record for the last 4 seasons, 220 win season. He's had basically better teams than he has right now, and he hasn't gotten out of the semifinals before. He just doesn't have success in the postseason. This team's not good enough, and Loyola or Drake will win the finals.
I'm not saying it because they're a good team or that he's a good coach. It's just how stuff works. That's what my take is.
And I'm going to disagree with it, but I do not think SIU should get rid of Barry Hinson because that'd just be awful. I love Barry Hinson. I don't know if you guys have gone to a game, but he interacts with the crowd. He literally one time started doing pump-up things to the crowd when I was there.
You know what he needs to do?
We went crazy.
He just needs to retire from coaching basketball and be a WWE manager.
He could be.
I really think he could be.
He absolutely could be. He could inspire me to do it, to go out there and fight.
That'd be awesome.
Yes.
So I'm wrong in my take on Barry Hinson.
Oh, yes. They are not winning the NBC tournament.
Take 2. The offseason that the Phillies have had has the potential to go down as one of the greatest offseasons of all time in the MLB.
Well, absolutely. They added 3 All-Stars and a bullpen guy that has a possibility of being an All-Star. This was just fantastic for the Phillies. I'm on the Philly hype train. They'll probably let me down, but right now, I would say they absolutely dominated the offseason. This was amazing.
Okay.
Because you honestly don't even think about Gene Segura. I honestly forgot they got him.
Yes. Dude, that's
he's an all-star.
Yes, that's the bottom line, basically. Is it Gene Segura and JT Realmuto. Those are bottom line stuff compared to Bryce Harper, and both of them are phenomenal players. Would have been headline news on any other team. Mm-hmm. All right, third take. I'm going to go for 2 for 3. This is the first time that I have ever been able to say since probably his 5th year in the league, that LeBron James is no longer the best player in the NBA.
So who would you say is the best player in the NBA?
I think KD for sure. I could say is better than him, and I could even make an argument for Giannis.
So last year, would you say he was the best in the league?
Yes.
His offensive numbers are exactly identical.
Yes, but like last year, he at least like tried on defense, like wasn't so apathetic. Like there's a lot that goes into it.
You do try. Okay, so here's a debate in and of itself: is his ability? I think his ability. He is a prior 6-time All-Defensive Team member. I don't think physically he's lost the ability to defend opponents at a high level. I still definitely think he can. I think it is a motivation problem right now, which is sad to say. And for me, that does not change the whole fact that he still is the best player in the NBA. And you can't tell me right now if for one season your team could either get KD or LeBron, you're honestly going to pick KD.
For one season, I may go Giannis, man.
For one season, though,
I may.
You're going to go Giannis.
I may. I really
So if it's
would.
for one, then why wouldn't you just say Giannis was the best player?
I think he probably is. We'll just put it there. I think Giannis is the gold standard in the NBA right now. The only bad thing is he can't really shoot a 3.
He can't shoot a 3. And though his defense is way better, honestly, if I had to pick one player out of every player in the NBA to be added to my team for one season, because he is getting up there in age, it would be LeBron James. Absolutely.
Okay, so you think I'm wrong?
I do think you're wrong.
Okay, 1 for 3. Hey, I'll live with that. I can take that. So, guys, we promised it to you earlier. Curtis Blaydes interview. He will be fighting March 23rd, taking on Justin Big Pretty Willis. All the Saucy Boys will be in attendance. I hope you guys enjoy this interview because hopefully we will have him back on the show after his fight. All right, Dippers, so today we have a familiar face to Sauce on the Side, the co-main event of UFC Fight Night 148, Curtis Razor Blaydes. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, man.
On March 23rd, you will be taking on Justin Big Pretty Willis, a guy who trains alongside DC and Kane at AKA. What do you think Big Pretty will bring to the cage that is different than what you've seen before?
I really don't think he's going to be bringing anything I haven't already seen before. He's a southpaw boxer. I've already fought 2 of those. I guess he might be a decent wrestler because he trains at AKA with Kane and all those other good wrestlers. But I don't really think he's going to have anything I haven't already been able to overcome.
Right. So, Willis, he's coming off of his best win to date with basically backpedaling and jabbing against Mark Hunt for 3 rounds. Seeing that, how comfortable do you feel, implementing your typical strategy of smothering wrestling and harsh ground and pound?
I feel very comfortable, just because I feel like I'm the more athletic fighter. I think I have the longer reach. I think I'm the more explosive guy also. So I know with my boxing, if I can get him to put his hands up and forget about his legs, I know once I can touch his legs, we'll be on the ground, and pretty much from there, it'll be over.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much the MO on you. Once you get him to the ground, it's basically a done fight. So do you have any prediction for March 23rd other than a Curtis Blaydes win?
No, I never hunt the KO or the finish. I just like to allow it to happen organically. Like the one against Alistair, I wasn't hunting that. I didn't predict it. I always go into all my fights visualizing a 15-minute war, even if the odds aren't that likely. That's what I usually like to visualize because it keeps me on my toes. That's when I'm at my best.
Right. I agree. I think that's probably the best way to do things. So let's briefly talk about your last experience in the Octagon. Unfortunately, I know that it wasn't the outcome that you wanted. But what was that experience like, being the headliner of a UFC card?
That was a pretty cool experience. I'm very appreciative and very fortunate to have been given the opportunity to headline a UFC international event, especially one in China. I never envisioned myself fighting over there, but it was a very eye-opening experience. I got to check out the Great Wall, got to walk around, look at how just normal Chinese people, how they live and stuff. It was, I'm happy for the memories, even though, like you said, it didn't end the way I wanted it to.
Right. So, obviously, whenever you travel overseas like that, there's a pretty significant time difference, and you have to get accustomed to that. Is that something that you start getting used to in training camp? Do you start messing with your sleep schedule while you're still here in the States? Or is that something that you get used to over there? Do you go a couple weeks early? How were you able to handle that time change?
Yeah, I usually just get there a couple days early. It's not that big of a deal. I did in Australia, and that was actually a longer travel time than China. So I'm pretty used to it. I've also gone to Croatia to fight, so I don't think jet lag is really that big of a factor when it comes to when you fight, because you have adrenaline, the lights are on, people are watching you, and there's a guy in there trying to take your head off.
Right. I think that would solve a lot of problems, honestly, whenever a guy tries to punch you in the face.
Yeah.
So, both big Bears fans here. I like to play kind of like the Bears hype man any chance I get on this show. What were your thoughts on the Bears season this last year?
I thought it was very promising. The defense, it showed growth. It showed that they can get turnovers when they need to. They were very opportunistic. It kind of reminded me of the Bears of old, where like everybody Tillman, Adewale, Goulier, all those old, like the old days, back when they relied heavily on the defense and playing the field position game. One thing I didn't like though was the kicking. Our kicker last year, really happy we got rid of him and picked up Robbie Gold. I wish we had a held on to him like the whole time. He should have been a Bear his whole career.
Oh, I agree with that.
We got him back.
I agree with that. Maybe we could get like a charity boxing match with you and Cody Parkey. All Bears fans are invited.
I would do that. That's what I would do.
Yeah. Hey, I can start getting it lined out. We could get that promotion started. As a Bears fan, I think I would love to see it.
Yeah, I wouldn't hurt him too bad. Just a few jabs.
just enough for what all Bears fans make us feel good.
Yeah.
So it looks like we finally have a quarterback. A funny question I kind of like to ask Bears fans is, who are your 3 favorite Bears quarterbacks of all time? I mean, we have a laundry list of absolute bad guys. Who are your 3 favorite Bears quarterbacks?
Obviously, Chip McMahon, because he got us a ring. Rex Grossman, because he almost got us a ring, even though he was all over the place and he wasn't very consistent. The 1 year, he almost put it together. And I guess my 3rd would be Kyle Orton. Because he did have a decent year for us his rookie year. I think he went 11-5.
Yeah. Kyle Orton, he holds a special place in my heart. He was basically what I've known the Bears to always be. He was a terrible quarterback. Yes, but he could manage a game. Like when the game got close, we knew he wasn't going to blow it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you give him a lead though, he wouldn't screw it up.
No.
And the Bears had a good defense that year.
Absolutely. So one thing I'm actually extremely jealous of. is that you've received a personalized jersey from the White Sox. You've got to go hang with the players. And I've always been a firm believer that you can only wear a personalized jersey when the team gives it to you and they invite you to be there. So what was that experience like being around the team and getting that jersey from a team you've probably watched since you were a kid?
Yeah, that was really, really awesome. I wasn't expecting to get that opportunity. It kind of just happened out of the blue. This guy slid my DM and was like, "Yo, I can get you with the White Sox. I can get you into the clubhouse. I can get you a jersey. I can get you to house out the first pitch." I was like, "Yeah," and it was just an awesome experience to be able to bring my dad, my brother, but also lifelong White Sox fans. We're all born and raised on the South Side, so I was really happy I could do that for my dad. And yeah, throwing out the first pitch, had a lot of nerves, but it wasn't as hard as everyone hyped it up to be.
Yeah, I actually didn't see the pitch itself. Did you throw a strike?
Kinda. It was really high up though. It was like a punt.
Hey, as long as you didn't throw it, like pull a 50 Cent and throw it at somebody else, you did a fine job.
That's exactly what I wanted to avoid.
So when can I expect seeing Curtis Blaydes in a personalized jersey on the sidelines of Soldier Field?
Oh wow. Hopefully this upcoming year, that would be dope. Maybe a Bears-Packers game.
Oh, that'd be nice. I usually go to the Bears-Packers game, so hopefully I'll be able to see that. Curtis Blaydes walking around with his title belt in his personalized jersey.
Wait, I think for next year, since the Bears play them at home at the beginning of the year, I think next year the Bears will be playing them at home at the end of the year. It's going to be freezing. Maybe not in that game.
Yeah, those games are usually cold. They're almost unbearable.
Yeah, maybe not that game.
So I talked about the belt a little bit. So Daniel Cormier actually holds the belt and kind of has the whole weight class in limbo with what he's going to do next. His next fight has been rumored to be Brock Lesnar, even though it has not been booked. Have you heard any update on what is expected to be the next heavyweight title fight?
No, I don't have any information you guys don't have. I'm just as far out of the loop. I'm hoping him and Brock can get that fight maybe July during International Fight Week, and then regardless of who wins, DC retires and Brock retires, and it's a vacant belt.
Right. So, are you expected? Obviously, you pick up this win against Justin Willis. Would you expect, after DC retires and he's going to have a vacant belt there, would you expect to be getting that next title fight?
No, to be honest, it would probably go to Stipe and Ghana. They probably run that back for the vacant strap, which is fine with me. I know I'll probably have to beat Justin Willis and then maybe the winner of Derek Lewis and JDS.
All right, yeah. Hopefully that can happen because I do want to see Curtis Blaydes with that belt at Soldier Field this football season.
That would be awesome. Me too. I'm really going to do my best.
Yeah, and I feel like once you're the champ, you can call your shot like that. Like once you're the champ, you can just reach out to the Bears and tell them that you want to bring the belt and show the guys, and they should all be on board with that, right?
I would hope so. I'd hate to get turned down. That wouldn't be very good for my ego.
No. Well, we got to have Twitter make it happen. Twitter can make anything happen, so we got to get that ball rolling now. For whenever you get that belt, we'll get you on the sidelines. And final question here. So everybody that's actually involved in this podcast will be attendance on March 23rd, and we'll kind of be sprinkled throughout the stadium. I have a proposition to make you. Can we tell everybody that we are friends of Curtis Blaydes in exchange to get either a Curtis Blaydes or a Razor Blaydes chant started in the crowd during your fight?
Hey, I would appreciate that. That works for me. I like that.
All right, so if people are coming up to you and they say, hey, some bald bearded guy just came up to me and said that he's your friend, you just immediately shake your head because we're going to have that place rocking on March 23rd.
I got you. I appreciate that, man.
All right, Curtis, thank you very much for taking time to sit down for this interview. I'm really excited to watch you fight live for the first time in my life. I wish you luck. Best of luck to you, Curtis.
Thank you.
Again, Curtis Blaydes, thank you very much. We're looking forward to watching you fight live. Okay, guys, so now it is time to go to the staple of every Sauce on the Side show. It is darts. Pew, 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 pew. We're playing darts, baby. Each week we throw darts at a dartboard. Each number represents a something different. Leighton, what do we have this week?
Bring it back. Would you rather?
Would you rather? So we throw the dart at the dartboard and we discuss topics on Would You Rather. Leighton C., you're first up. And we have a 10.
A 10 would be, would you rather see what is behind every closed door or be able to get a combination of every safe on the first try?
This is so easy for me.
I know.
One would get me in trouble.
Yeah, one. I feel like I'm definitely going to pick the safe one. I'm going to take a chance of being in trouble. But you can... A big thing of robbing stuff is able to open safes the first time. Like, if you get that, have a head start anybody else, it's a huge deal.
Because even the best alarms in the year, I mean, in the world, I mean, what's the fastest response time? A few minutes?
Yeah, like, if you can type in, like, what, four, maybe 10 numbers to get out of there quick, you're home free.
Yeah,
that is an ability that I don't think I'd want to have, because I would just get in trouble with that, because you know that you have the power, and other people would eventually catch on that you have that power, and that, honestly, would get me in trouble. I would rather have no power at all than be able to open every safe on the first try, but just for shits and giggles, I would take being able to see behind closed doors, just in the chance that I got on, like, a game show, you know, you have to pick which door you want. Like, obviously, I'm going to pick the big prize every single time, and I'll just go on a huge rampage of stealing everybody's gifts there.
How lame of a superpower would that be, though? That is an absolute
Depends on how many game shows you get on.
That would be the only thing. It's like you decide that you're gonna go fight crime, and they're like, well, "What's your power?" I can just see behind that door. Okay, you have the same power as I have from opening a door. Congratulations.
I could honestly put myself in a circus just in the middle of Madison Square Garden and look behind doors and tell everybody what's on the other side.
But you would probably never be jumped. I mean, what's harder to get jumped or sneak attacked if you can see where you're going? Or
Absolutely.
See what's behind this door.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to be able to see behind closed doors because it's the safest bet. And if I ever get on, like, Wheel of Fortune or something like that, I would be set.
I'm going to open up safes for sure.
Staying with safes.
Absolutely.
Staying with safes.
All right. So, second throw, B-Right, take it away. And we have a 19.
19 is... Would you rather be married to a 10 with a bad personality or a 6 with an amazing personality?
Oh, a 6.
Absolutely.
Probably
Jesus
a 6.
Christ.
A 6 isn't near low enough.
Yeah,
Let's change this.
Yeah.
We're changing this to a 3. We're going with a 3.
A 3. Now we're talking.
Now we're talking.
Now we're talking. How bad of a personality? Like on the hot? Are we talking like hot crazy matrix? Like where are we landing?
We're
here?
talking.
Are we still?
Yeah, hot crazy matrix. Like,
Because if
her sense of humor is terrible.
Okay, because if she's a 10, due to the hot crazy matrix, then she has to be a 10 crazy for it not to be worth it.
Yes, it would be a 10 and a 1 and a 3 and a 10 for the personality. I would definitely take the 3 in this instance. I think that 6 is just like a no-brainer. I feel like 3 is a no-brainer even at this point because that's the rest of your life.
That is the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And it is the rest of your life, and yes, that's what I'm gonna do. The temptation would be there for the 10. It would be hard to originally get with a 3, but definitely would rather have the best personality in the world.
You forget? Yeah, no.
I'm all in on this.
Yeah, no. I definitely have a very odd sense of humor, and hanging out with people who don't get that is a miserable experience. So just knowing that bit of knowledge, going with a 3 and good personality.
Yes, that's a no-brainer. About 4 years ago, I don't think I'd have saw that, but yes, absolutely.
Wisdom comes with age.
Yes.
Oh yes.
I'm aging. I'm aging like a fine wine, even though my hairline says different.
Right.
All right, now my throw. And we have a 17.
17. Would you rather be balding but fit, or overweight with a full head of hair?
I'm perfectly fine being bald. Absolutely. And, I'm in pretty good shape. I'm not like DK Metcalf putting up combine numbers and walking out there with a 1.6% body fat. But I'm in pretty good shape, and I'm completely okay with that. And, I think I actually look pretty damn good bald. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
You set up this question, didn't you?
And I look pretty good.
Drake might have said one number off.
I definitely knew that this had to be part.
But,
so
for your hairline's sake, this is a good one. Because this week is the biggest week in your hairline's history.
Yep.
I mean,
go ahead, man.
I'm just going to say physically fit because obviously that is the main reason that I stay physically fit is because I do lack my hair and I'm also being healthy at the same time. Like, it sucks to not feel good about yourself. So I'm definitely going to go balding because I think Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson taught us that if you're big enough and look good enough with your shirt off, it doesn't care how much hair you have.
Yes.
Yeah, I've never been bald, but having overweight and just being not overweight is way more fun. I feel like your hairline is irrelevant to that standpoint, so I'm gonna go with being fit and balding.
You can always take off your shirt, and
Yes.
You can.
it's erased.
And,
Yes.
and you can always wear a hat.
And you kind of look badass bald. Like, you just look at Stone Cold Steve Austin, and, my case is made.
I feel like people don't always look badass being bald. I feel like there happen to be like an exception or two out there.
Hey, remember whenever I said beauty is in the eye of the beholder?
That's true.
So is badassness. And in my eyes, you look badass when you're bald.
All right.
All right, Leighton, so go ahead and recap for that.
So we are going to open safe instead of seeing behind doors. We're going to marry a less hot chick that's way cooler, and we're all going to be fit and bald.
All right, I like that. We all agree that bald is beautiful.
We're
All
a
right.
little biased, though. But go
Yes.
on.
Yeah, you had two guys with bad hairlines going on this one. You knew we weren't picking the hair. So we'll go ahead and transition to college basketball. Guys, conference... I don't even feel right saying this. This is like whenever I say week 17 is tomorrow. Conference tournament season starts tomorrow. Most mid-majors will start this week, but the big boys start next week. So we'll go ahead and do our conference predictions next week for the big ones. But since the mid-majors are kicking off tomorrow, is there any way that we will see Ja Morant in the tournament if Murray State does not win the OVC?
No, absolutely not. Conference is not good. Only 14 have a winning record, and they have 0 top 25 wins at any point in the season.
Yeah, and they also had a 20-point loss to Jackson State. I think that's what they're called. I don't know. They have a losing record overall. So that's not good for them. And if you say that, they had the exact same record and the exact same quality of wins, which is probably 0, than Belmont has. And where nobody's buying for Belmont to have a net bid large. So can't happen. But so Murray State, you better win.
Actually, not only Murray State not beat a ranked team, no team in the conference would beat a ranked team.
Oh, yeah. Well, I believe it.
So with Murray State, I think that you could have made a case because they played both Alabama and Auburn, which are two teams that are going to be bubble teams from the SEC. Mm-hmm. Both of them are, Auburn's 9-7 in the SEC, and then you have Alabama, who's 8-8. Had they beaten one of those teams, you could maybe get in that weird predicament where you're like, well, they have the head-to-head win, and they do have obviously more wins overall, even though they're not as good wins. Had they been able to win one of those games, you could have put them in. If they would have won both, you absolutely have them in. But since they went 0-2 against those teams, I don't see any way that they can do it, even though I want him in at any cost.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes,
college basketball needs this.
Yes.
So we're actually going to stay on mid-majors for the last bit of this. My favorite college basketball conference, Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. Guys, this is where 16 seed play-in games are born.
Yes.
Who's taking home this chip and who will be playing in that 16 seed play-in game?
So I'm going to go with Iona because I just have no idea. I mean, who's going to win that because they're all a bunch of garbage. But here's the funny thing about Iona. I looked. A team that could be playing a team from the play-in game would be Duke. And Duke has two teams that Iona actually played, Princeton and Yale. Duke beat Princeton and Yale by a combined 84 points.
Oh my goodness.
Iona lost they lost between the two by 19.
Wow. So Zion might even sit for that first game even.
Oh, well, why not? It's
Yes.
over 100-point difference between those two. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And one more thing, if you want to go to the championship, boys, you're getting it at a premium. 100 level seats, midsection for $8.97 a pop.
Holy smokes.
And that's not $897. That's $8.97. And just put that in perspective, there were upper tier level seats with Duke and North Carolina when Zion got hurt going for $2,000.
Wow.
So you're telling me I can watch NCAA quality basketball for $8.97?
Yes, you can.
Well, my champion of the Metro Atlantic, whatever it's called, conference is Siena. Why? 3 teams in the conference are winning record. They're one of them. And one time I bet on them and they won.
Well, that's the goodest point of any. And they've
Yes.
been in the tournament before. I know they have.
Yes, dude, Iona, I feel like Iona is like a staple of the tournament. Like, always playing in that game. They're always winning that conference. Here's some funny points I brought about this conference. So their non-conference record collectively is 41-89. Non-conference. I'm surprised these teams collectively don't have a losing record in conference. That's how bad they are. They have one team with a winning non-conference record, and they're 6-12 in the conference. Iona, on the other hand, went 2-9 in non-conference basketball. They are 12-6 in the conference. How unbelievable is that?
Yeah.
And then they have 3 teams out of the 11 that have winning records. I'm going with Iona just because it seems right. The NCAA tournament seems right. Whenever Iona is in that gritty 16 game playing in the first 4 in Dayton.
So if they somehow could get past that play-in game and play a number 1 seed, over under 35-point loss.
Oh, over. Way over.
Over.
Way over.
Man, I was going to say over as well, but that's crazy to say.
Yes, absolutely. What a great...
What a great conference.
Yes, great conference. Monmouth, remember that powerhouse a few years ago?
Oh, yeah.
1-11 in non-conference. Manhattan, they were a tournament team, I believe, just last year. 2-10 in non-conference. That's the Basketball Conference of America, boys. So over the weekend, we actually had 4 top 12 teams lose to unranked opponents. Nevada, Michigan State, Houston, Marquette all fell to unranked teams. Which team hurt their tournament seeding the worst this week?
I'll go with Marquette, because I don't really this weekend. They lost back-to-back games now. And I think maybe both of you guys have a number 2 seed in the tournament. And you can make an argument for that. And had they won the Big East tournament, they probably would have got a 2 seed. Back-to-back games now really hurts their seeding chances. They can still get a 3 seed, but just historically, it's way better to have the 2 than the 3.
Oh, absolutely. And they were going to be my 1, but I'll go ahead and talk about another one that I thought really hurt themselves, and that's Houston. Because Houston's one of those teams that they don't have a ton of quality wins, and we look at them with that really great record, only 1 loss. They lose this game. They still have a tough Cincy team they have to play. I mean, this team could go from 2 to 5 seed if they lose against Cincy and then don't do well in their conference tournament. I mean, it could be that bad for Houston because I already thought they were looking at a 3 seed. And that really sucks because now you're playing some really quality opponents your first round of the tournament.
Right. I'm actually going to go with a different team than both of you guys. I think it's Nevada. Just because what teams can do to bounce back after this. You know, Houston, they can at least pick up like quality wins against ranked opponents in their tournament. They can beat Cincy. They can beat UCF. Both teams right now are ranked. You look at Michigan State. They can still come up and maybe nab a 2 seed if things work out correctly and they win the Big Ten. Marquette, they could come up and grab a 3 seed in the Big East just because they would be, you know, the Big East champion. You know, if they're able to run the table from here on out, pick up some quality wins in their tournament. Nevada, they can win out and still not really pick up a team that will be in the top 25. Like, if Utah State isn't ranked right now, Utah State won't be ranked unless they beat Nevada for that for the conference championship. So really, Nevada has really nothing to gain throughout the rest of the season, and they just have everything to lose at this point. And whenever I looked at the last bracket, Nevada had fallen all the way down to a 5 seed. And there's really no wiggle room for this team because from here on out, teams that are ranked above them, the only teams that they can lose to are really, really good teams. So it's not going to move the needle on them much. Where Nevada, they're not going to be able to beat another tournament team with the exception of maybe Utah State in their conference championship game. So that's why I think it would be Nevada, just because they can't gain anything from here on out.
That is a good point. They actually fell all the way to 17 in the top 25.
Could you imagine
really because I think I actually bet on Nevada as a dark horse to win the championship because they definitely have the pieces that could do it.
Absolutely. And you look at that team, they're so good. They have 6 guys who scored 1,000 points over their career. And how big of a slap in the face would that be if they end up getting a 5 seed in a tournament with only 3 losses?
Oh, it would be absolutely terrible. And they had a great non-conference, scheduled record. It would really be disappointing, but that's what happens when you struggle towards the end.
Yes, I agree. One team that was struggling towards the end, but got back on their winning ways, Tennessee. They were able to pay back their 17-point loss in Rupp and deliver a 19-point crushing to UK in Knoxville. Guys, what does this win say about Tennessee?
It says that they are still definitely the top 5 of the team in college basketball. That one game at Kentucky was just a fluke, like we all expected, or like we all said it was.
I mean, absolutely. And it even more just shows that Tennessee can overcome adversity because not only that Kentucky game, they were struggling for a couple of weeks there. They seem to have found their identity, and that's great heading into the tournament.
Yes, and you said something perfectly there, Brandon. They found their identity. At the beginning of the season, this team was playing like they were an offensive team, which is not what Tennessee is. Yes, they put up great offensive numbers, but they've won historically last season and coming into this year. We thought that they would be a defensive powerhouse. In the Ken Pom ranking going into the Kentucky game, they were ranked 55th in the country in defense, 55 or 57, right in the mid-50s. Now, since that game, they have been able to trend all the way up. I know they lost to LSU, but just by a defensive metric, they've trended all the way up to 31st in the country defensively. So I think it's a team that's heading in the right direction. Kind of have that wake-up call like, hey, we are a gritty-ass team. We got to play like that, but we can score with anybody. So we have to win on defense first. Do you guys think that Tennessee now is locked into a 1 seed?
I do not know. I think they're going to be lucky to 1 seed. They go win the SEC tournament. And actually have a kind of cool idea. Let's say Tennessee, UK, and LSU all go to the semifinals of the SEC tournament. And LSU wins the tournament. Could the SEC have 3 2 seeds?
Ooh.
That's going to be a really tough sell, but that's possible.
Potentially.
Well, how many top seeds are the ACC going to have? I mean, they have 3 of the top 5 teams right now.
Yeah, the ACC is going to get a ton of love, but I do think that if Kentucky and Tennessee played in the semis and one of them lost in a really, really close game, and then LSU was able to come out and house that team, I do think that you could potentially have 3 SEC schools as a 2 seed. And I actually looked at Joe Lenardi's bracket. Tennessee's still a 2 seed, and Kentucky's still a 1. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on, which is kind of bizarre.
That is kind of bizarre. I would definitely switch that. But yeah, I definitely think, like Layden says, it's going to come down to the SEC tournament.
Absolutely.
Whoever wins that is probably going to be the number 1 seed, and then you got a couple number 2s. I think Tennessee, though, has definitely locked themselves into a 2 seed unless they bow out the first game of the SEC tournament.
Right. So does this change your perspective of UK being a team that we thought could win a title?
No, not necessarily. I mean, it is kind of alarming that they follow up that giant domination of Tennessee by losing by 19 points, but I think you still win a title.
Oh, definitely. You just can't overreact with one game. Tennessee showed that to us just a few weeks ago.
Right. I agree with that. I still think this team's going to cruise into the tournament, probably get a 2 seed. They'll probably all be 2 seeds because of the ACC love. But I still think UK, without the Tennessee game, they're definitely trending in the right direction. So kind of an interesting game. Virginia Tech had been struggling without their starting point guard coming down the stretch. They were still able to knock off Duke without Zion on Tuesday. Zion has now missed 3 straight games with knee soreness. Should Duke be hitting the panic button?
I saw Zion might play tomorrow night. If not, probably play the next game.
The next game's against UNC.
After Tuesday?
After Tuesday, the following game be UNC.
They've already played UNC twice, right?
Just once.
It's just once. But, yeah, no, so he doesn't play Tuesday. He'll play the next game against UNC. How he looks in that game is going to tell anything with a panic button. Is he scared of the knee injury? It'd be the biggest thing.
I guarantee he's not wearing Paul George shoes.
See, at this time, I think Duke and Zion just need to say that he's not playing anymore, and I think that'd actually be great for Duke. Because at this point, there's a huge scare that he comes back and he's not the same Zion Williamson for fear of an injury, or that he's just not 100% again. And this team has talent, and they have to learn how to play without the most dominant force in the NCAA, which is Zion Williamson. I honestly have watched their defense. It struggles because they're just going for steals, letting people go by him, and they know Zion Williamson was going to block them. They don't have that anymore. And this team has to get their role players more involved. And if that happens, they can still go far in the NCAA tournament. But the way they're playing right now, absolutely not. They have to learn how to play without Zion. And they need to make a decision now. Is he going to play or is he not? Because it's still up in the air. And that's not going to help the team.
Yes, I think Duke should be as close to the panic button as possible, because at one point this team was a plus 150 to win the NCAA tournament, which the next best odds were plus 750. So it was basically a clean sweep that this team was going to win. And, struggling this bad without Zion, you have to be jumping on the panic button. But let's say Zion does not return. Do you think this is still a team that can win the title?
No, I really don't. I said it before on here. Just because without Zion, they already have low on depth. And without a guy shooting, 60% from the field, they lose almost an automatic basket. And yeah, Reddish and RJ Bale are playing really good basketball, but they're still kind of not. They're losing to a team like Virginia Tech. Mm-hmm. And those are the teams that make the tournament. There are going to be a ton of Virginia Techs come round 2 or 16 if they get that far, and I don't see them getting past that point.
And what I'm saying is I'm concerned for them, but I also think they have still enough time between the last couple games and the ACC tournament to kind of figure out what their identity is. And obviously they're going to get to the Sweet 16 pretty easily. After that, if they haven't decided, that's when they're going to probably be bowing out of the tournament, when they start playing, the 5th, 6th seeds in the tournament.
Yeah. I actually looked at Joe Lunardi's bracket today, and they had Duke filing into the winner of Iowa and Florida, which both of those teams are kind of scary teams. Like, you look at Florida, they've been able to beat LSU and pick up, quality wins over the past few weeks. It's a team that you do not want to play when you're not at full strength. And I think a team that is just trending in the right direction, playing a Duke without Zion, who's obviously on a steep decline, would cause some problems. I'm not saying that Duke would lose in the second round, but I'm saying if you're Duke, you wouldn't want to play a team like that in the second round without Zion, because you want those guys who are obviously freshmen, who are probably going to play up and down to their competition, to either play a really, really good team or a really, really bad team, because if you find a team that's right in the middle, you are going to be in some trouble, just like they were with Virginia Tech the other night. So, guys, last week, to save B. Reich's hair, Kansas is a half game back on Texas Tech and K-State. All 3 teams have 2 games left to finish the season. Guys, give me a percentage that B. Reich keeps his hair through the next month.
I'm not going to say 0, because there's always a chance that can happen. Only half game back. But I'm going to go 15, 20%, because kind of like how we always say Iowa State always wins game at home against a good team. I feel like Texas Tech and Kansas State always lose the game if they need to close stuff out.
Yes.
So just for that reason, I'm going to say 20%, but I am very confident Van's head will be bald come maybe this time next week.
I think Texas Tech is going to drop one more game, and Kansas is not. Kansas State, if they don't lose to TCU, they're not losing to Oklahoma. And I really was thinking Baylor was going to pull that one out on the second. So I'm going to go with a robust 25% chance.
I think I'm going to go with a 30, just for the simple fact that Texas Tech, like Leighton said, historically has lost the games that they need to win. Texas is no slouch, obviously.
Oh, no.
And I think they're going to give Texas Tech a little run for their money. I don't know if they're going to be able to pull off the win, but I think Texas Tech will lose one of the 2 games coming down the stretch. I don't think Kansas is going to drop a game either. This is still Kansas. This is still a team. They don't want to be the team that has lost the conference title after winning it 14 straight years. You don't want to be that team, so they're not going to lose. I do think Texas Tech may be able to sneak up and nab K-State tonight. despite the fact that they're 2.5-point underdogs.
Yeah, this is just going to be really sad if they're one game out.
Yes. Oh, that would be miserable. So, guys, it is time to put our producer in the spotlight. Each week, our producer goes out and watches not one, not two, maybe 3 or 4 movies, comes in and reviews one. Leighton, see, what do you got for us today?
This week, I'm going to review Happy Death Day 2.
1 2 1 2 Pip's Entertainment Review. Sit on down for a movie to view.
The sequel to Happy Death Day 1 came out 2 or 3 years, it's over a year ago. Talk about on the show, actually. It followed a girl who kind of Groundhog's Day. Every day, woke up on the same day. Well, every day she was killed, woke up that same morning. And she had to figure out who killed her. But, and, you know, I think you watched the first one this, Brandon.
Oh,
What the hell?
Not watch the first
How can you have a sequel to this?
But listen, it's like,
Does she just keep on dying?
They just keep showing the same damn day over and over. Happy Death Day 12, where we live the same day that she died 14 more times.
so that's my thought, too.
Wait, did she know that she had died every single time? Did she wake up
She woke up
knowing
every
that
day.
she died the night before?
Knowing she died, and she had to find her killer to survive the day. And no matter what she did, she would always die. So already
That sucks.
very out there. So Death Day 2. First off, a trailer for this
This has
movie-
to be what it's like to be like a Wisconsin fan or something like that.
a Georgia football fan. Just get right there.
Yes,
face Alabama.
a Georgia football fan. You know your fate before it even
They
starts.
just get right there to finish it. So the trailer for this movie made it seem like instead of one killer, there were like a dozen killers. And she not only had to save her, but all of her friends. So that's what I think this movie is about. Get into the movie, it's not about that at all. What happened in the movie is her friend Ryan created a machine to slow down time on like a molecular level, and that created a time loop that made her wake up every morning after dying. And in the end, there was still death in it.
It sounds
And-
horrible.
And in the movie, she got thrown into an alternate universe where things were changed. Some she liked, some she did not like, and she had to decide in the end if she wanted to stay in that universe or go back to her own. And you guys probably know what decision she made in the end.
Yeah, but
Decide
why
to not die
all the
anymore.
time?
Well, yes, she. In this movie,
Isn't she, in her reality, isn't she still dying all the time?
yes, no, like you leave this movie and you think about the like main plot point being that, and you realize that that was very irrelevant to the whole course of the movie.
I have a new one for Happy Death Day 2 or Death Day 3.
That's it.
It's going to be the Raptors playing LeBron in the playoffs. Over and over and over again. They wake up it's
boy.
Kyle Lowry waking up knowing what's going to happen.
Yes.
But I don't know. The movie overall is very stupid, as you can tell by the premise of the movie. But it is generally entertaining. The main actress in it, her name is Jessica Ralph. She is very good looking. She's probably closer to a 10, so she's probably very crazy. I pull it for Drake so you can check her out.
She's in some crazy movie.
Yeah, she's in a crazy movie.
The movie is very crazy. I'm gonna give the movie 1.7 dips.
So it's pretty bad.
It was not good. It was entertaining. I would show it to somebody if I saw the first one with them, but definitely not gonna watch it again by myself.
What'd you give the first one? Was it better? By the sounds of it?
Probably 1.9, I think, around that range.
I feel like the first one obviously has to be better because it's the same shit over and over and over.
Yeah, it was really original too, because it was Groundhog's Day, but murder.
Was Bill Murray in it?
No.
Oh.
He never make an appearance. He probably
Did the
could've George
groundhog
Floyd, though.
sometimes see his shadow and sometimes didn't?
At no point in time was there a groundhog in this movie.
That's terrible.
Nor was there a cake.
This was 100% Groundhog's Day because they even played off the name Happy Death Day, and then like Valentine's or Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. Terrible movie.
I
You
do
gotta
like
show a groundhog.
I do like the pun though in the name of it being to you. So it's Happy Death Day 2, it's Happy Death Day to you. I like the pun.
Wow. And did that raise it a whole 0.1 on your dip scale?
No, not moving an inch, but I like the pun still.
Okay.
I think that's a poor pun.
All right, guys. Any bold predictions before we wrap this show up?
Craig Kimball and Doug Keiko get signed, and that basically ends free agency period.
Craig Kimbrell's not getting signed. My hair survives.
Your hair survives. I like
It
that.
survives.
I hope it does. I do. It'd be just a shame seeing you walk off the terminal in Phoenix whenever we're down there to watch some spring training, and you have a balder head than me.
Because there's a 0% chance I'm letting you shave my head. I'm not
I know.
letting you have that satisfaction.
Oh, dude, I was going to bring my clippers and everything if you were
I'm
going to
sure
do
you
that. My bold prediction I'm going to go with that Zion does not play tomorrow, but he does play against UNC, and UNC still is able to beat Duke by double digits. I think the team just won't
that is
look
a
right.
bold.
I don't think they're going to look right. And UNC's been playing pretty good basketball. Didn't look great closing out the game against Clemson, but I think it's a team that is obviously hot at the right time. Duke riding a low wave right now, and yeah, I think so. Because it's going to create just enough controversy to whether or not Duke gets that 1 seed.
All right.
Anything else before we wrap this show up?
Dippers, I'm sorry for the last couple of weeks at Home Hoops Hysteria. There haven't been any due to scheduling issues. Because I can't do it again this week, but I will find a co-host to do it this week, and it will be up.
All right. And on that note, for Drake, for Leighton C., and B. Reich, our hot take detective, Dippers, as always, stay saucy.